the road that the forest never forgot. The evening has finally settled into a gentle silence, and with every slow breath, the busy world begins to fade behind you. There is nothing left to accomplish tonight, nowhere you need to hurry, and no reason to carry the weight of the day any longer. Instead, you simply allow yourself to wander, following an old woodland path that has quietly welcomed travelers for countless generations. The air is cool but comforting, carrying the delicate fragrance of pine needles, damp earth, and wild lavender growing beneath towering trees. Above you, ancient oaks stretch their broad branches across the sky, their leaves whispering softly whenever a gentle breeze passes through them. The fading sunlight filters between the branches in ribbons of warm gold, gradually giving way to the peaceful silver glow of the rising moon. You walk at an unhurried pace, your footsteps softened by a carpet of fallen leaves that have gathered over many seasons. Each step feels lighter than the last, as though the forest itself is gently encouraging you to slow down. There is nothing to chase here. Time seems to move differently beneath these ancient trees. Long before modern roads crossed the countryside, forests like this covered much of medieval Europe. Hidden deep within them were tiny villages known only to those who lived there or to the occasional merchant who wandered off the main roads. These communities were often built beside clear streams, surrounded by fertile soil and protected by the dense woodland that offered both shelter and quiet. Perhaps you can imagine what it would have been like to arrive at such a place after several peaceful days of walking. The forest would have greeted you first, just as it does now. Birdsong echoes gently from somewhere high among the branches. A robin sings its final melody before settling into the safety of its nest, while somewhere farther away, an owl quietly prepares for the night ahead. Between the roots of the great trees, clusters of tiny white flowers sway almost imperceptibly in the evening breeze, their petals glowing faintly beneath the growing moonlight. To your left, a narrow stream appears, its crystal-clear water flowing smoothly over polished stones. The sound is steady and calming, never loud, never hurried. Small ferns lean gracefully toward the water, while soft green moss blankets every rock along the bank. You pause for a moment beside a small wooden bridge that crosses the stream. Its sturdy planks have been worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Perhaps merchants carrying woven baskets once crossed here. Perhaps shepherds led their sheep across these same boards at sunrise. Children may have paused here to watch tiny fish gliding beneath the surface, just as you do now. The bridge feels wonderfully ordinary. There are no grand monuments, no famous landmarks, only the quiet beauty of simple craftsmanship that has endured through generations. As you continue, the forest becomes even more peaceful. Tall pine trees gradually join the broad oaks, filling the cool evening air with their fresh, calming scent. Fireflies begin to appear among the ferns, drifting slowly through the gathering darkness like tiny floating lanterns. Every few moments, another gentle light rises from the grass before disappearing once more into the shadows. It is impossible to say where they all come from. Perhaps they have always lived here. Perhaps they simply enjoy welcoming those who arrive with quiet hearts. The path bends gently around an enormous oak whose trunk is covered in thick emerald moss. Ivy climbs its bark, while delicate mushrooms gather near its roots in neat little circles. This remarkable tree has likely stood here for hundreds of years, silently witnessing changing seasons, peaceful harvests, gentle winters, and the countless travelers who have wandered beneath its branches. You place your hand upon its rough bark. The wood feels cool beneath your fingertips, carrying the quiet strength that only great age can bring. Some historians believe that forests like these often served as natural boundaries between neighboring villages. Travelers relied not on signposts but on familiar trees, flowing rivers, and carefully remembered footpaths. Every bend in the trail became part of an unwritten map passed from one generation to the next. The moon climbs a little higher. Its silver light now filters through the canopy, painting delicate patterns across the forest floor. The world grows quieter still, yet never empty. Every gentle sound, the distant stream, the whispering leaves, the occasional flutter of wings, blends together into a peaceful melody that seems as old as the forest itself. Soon, something changes. The trees begin to stand farther apart, allowing broad pools of moonlight to spill across a meadow filled with wildflowers. White daisies, blue cornflowers, and pale evening blossoms sway together in the cool breeze, creating waves of color that shimmer beneath the stars. At the far side of the meadow, almost hidden among climbing ivy and flowering hedges, you notice the outline of a weathered stone wall. It is not tall, nor is it imposing. Instead, it seems quietly welcoming, as though it has patiently waited for someone to discover it again. A narrow wooden gate stands slightly open. Beyond it, a cobblestone lane disappears between small timber cottages with thatched roofs silvered by the moonlight. Tiny windows glow with the warm flicker of candlelight, while herb gardens filled with rosemary, thyme, lavender, and sage surround each peaceful home. No voices reach your ears. No carts roll across the stones. Only the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant murmur of the nearby stream continue their timeless conversation. You have arrived at a village that history slowly forgot, but one that the forest never did. Just inside the gate stands an old stone well beneath a magnificent chestnut tree. A smooth wooden bench rests beside it, polished by generations of quiet visitors. You sit for a moment beneath the softly glowing stars, breathing in the comforting sense of fresh bread, herbs, cedar wood, and cool evening air. Somewhere farther along the peaceful lane, a tiny bell rings once, carried gently through the night before fading back into silence. You smile quietly, knowing that tomorrow, as the first light of dawn touches the rooftops of this forgotten village, another gentle chapter of its timeless story will patiently begin. Morning in the forgotten village. The first light of morning arrives so gently that it almost feels like another dream. Long before the sun rises above the treetops, the eastern sky begins to glow with soft shades of pale blue, warm amber, and delicate rose. A cool mist rests quietly over the rooftops, wrapping the little village in a blanket of peaceful silence. You remain seated on the old wooden bench for a few moments, listening. The forest is beginning to wake. Somewhere high among the branches, a blackbird sings the first song of the day. Soon another answers from farther away, followed by the cheerful melody of robins and finches greeting the morning together. Their songs drift through the cool air without hurry, blending naturally with the quiet murmur of the nearby stream. You rise slowly and continue along the cobblestone lane. Each stone beneath your feet has been worn smooth by centuries of careful footsteps. The lane curves gently between timber-framed cottages whose walls are woven with climbing ivy and blooming roses. Tiny windows catch the first rays of sunlight, reflecting warm golden light across flower-filled gardens. The village feels wonderfully peaceful. Long ago, villages like this were often home to only a few dozen families. Everyone knew one another, and each person contributed to the quiet rhythm of daily life. Some tended gardens, others cared for animals, baked bread, repaired tools, or gathered herbs from the surrounding forest. Life moved with the changing seasons rather than the ticking of a clock. As you walk, the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread drifts through the morning air. A small bakery stands beside the village square, its stone chimney releasing a thin ribbon of white smoke that rises lazily into the brightening sky. Wooden baskets filled with round loaves rest on a sturdy oak table outside the door, still warm from the oven. The baker smiles kindly as he arranges the bread. There is no rush. No long line of customers. Only the gentle satisfaction of preparing food for neighbors who have shared this peaceful place for generations. Nearby, an elderly woman waters neat rows of lavender, rosemary, and sage growing beside her cottage. Tiny droplets sparkle like jewels upon the leaves before slipping quietly into the rich soil below. Bees drift lazily between purple blossoms, gathering nectar as they have every spring for countless years. You pause beside the garden gate. The fragrance is wonderfully calming. Fresh herbs mingle with the scent of damp earth, blooming flowers, and warm morning sunlight, creating an atmosphere that feels both familiar and timeless. Beyond the cottages, small vegetable gardens stretch toward the forest's edge. Neat rows of cabbage, onions, carrots, beans, and peas grow beside wooden fences woven from hazel branches. Apple trees, heavy with green fruit, cast gentle shadows across narrow footpaths lined with wild daisies. For much of history, gardens like these provided nearly everything a family needed. Vegetables, herbs, berries, and fruit were carefully grown through spring and summer before being preserved for the colder months ahead. Every season brought its own quiet work, performed patiently and with great care. A gentle breeze moves across the gardens. Tall grasses sway together like waves upon a peaceful sea. Butterflies drift effortlessly from flower to flower, while dragonflies shimmer above a nearby pond where smooth lily pads float across still water. The village square is slowly becoming more lively, though lively here simply means that a few neighbors exchange friendly smiles as they begin their morning routines. One craftsman gently sands the handle of a wooden rake. Another carefully repairs a wicker basket. A young apprentice sweeps yesterday's leaves from the stone path leading toward the village well. No one seems hurried. There is comfort in ordinary work. Simple tasks performed with patience become almost meditative. You notice a narrow path leading beyond the last cottage. Curiosity invites you forward. The path winds gently through an orchard where pear, plum, and apple trees grow in carefully tended rows. Their branches sway softly beneath the morning breeze, while birds hop between them searching for insects hidden among the leaves. At the center of the orchard stands an old stone fountain. Crystal clear water flows quietly from the carved mouth of a weathered lion into a shallow basin filled with floating flower petals. Moss softens every edge of the ancient stone, and climbing vines embrace its base as though nature and craftsmanship have lived together here for centuries. You sit beside the fountain. The sound of gently flowing water fills the peaceful silence. Above you, sunlight filters through the fruit trees, creating delicate patterns that dance across the grass whenever the leaves move. A pair of white butterflies circles lazily above the fountain before disappearing into the orchard beyond. For a little while, there is nothing else to do except breathe. The morning grows warmer. The mist slowly lifts from the rooftops, revealing rolling green hills beyond the forest. In the distance, nestled among ancient oaks, you notice the slender bell tower of a small stone chapel rising quietly above the trees. Its weathered roof glows softly beneath the sunlight. A single bronze bell hangs silently within the tower, waiting patiently for another peaceful day to unfold. The winding path seems to lead gently toward that quiet chapel, disappearing beneath an archway of flowering hawthorn trees whose white blossoms dance in the breeze. You rise from the fountain with unhurried steps, following the sunlit path through the orchard, while somewhere ahead, beyond the fragrant blossoms and whispering trees, another quiet corner of the forgotten village patiently waits to welcome you. The little stone chapel beneath the ancient oaks. The path through the orchard continues at an easy, unhurried pace, inviting you to enjoy every gentle step. Above your head, the branches of apple and pear trees form a living canopy, their leaves glowing softly as morning sunlight filters through them. Tiny birds flutter from branch to branch, filling the peaceful air with cheerful songs that seem to celebrate the beginning of another quiet day. Before long, the orchard gives way to a meadow where tall grasses sway like gentle waves. White daisies, blue cornflowers, and bright buttercups scatter across the landscape, their delicate petals catching the light whenever a soft breeze passes by. Honeybees drift lazily from flower to flower, and butterflies float so effortlessly that they seem almost carried by the sunlight itself. You continue along the narrow footpath. It is lined with smooth stones that have rested here for generations, carefully placed by hands long forgotten. Time has softened their edges, while patches of emerald moss have quietly claimed the spaces between them. Every step feels connected to those who walked this same path hundreds of years ago. Soon, the little chapel comes fully into view. It stands upon a gentle rise beneath several magnificent oak trees whose broad branches spread across the sky like welcoming arms. Built from pale gray stone gathered from the nearby hills, the chapel appears both humble and timeless. Ivy climbs carefully along its walls, while tiny white flowers bloom beside its weathered doorway. A single bronze bell hangs quietly within the modest tower. It is still. No sound disturbs the peaceful morning. In villages like this throughout medieval Europe, small chapels were often the heart of daily life. They were not only places of prayer but also gathering places where neighbors celebrated seasons, welcomed new families, and quietly supported one another through the ordinary moments of life. Their simplicity reflected the quiet rhythm of the communities they served. You gently push open the heavy oak door. It moves slowly, releasing the comforting scent of aged wood, cool stone, and beeswax candles. Inside, the chapel is wonderfully peaceful. Sunlight streams through narrow stained glass windows, painting soft patterns of blue, amber, and green across the stone floor. Wooden benches, polished smooth by generations of quiet visitors, stand neatly arranged beneath sturdy timber beams darkened by centuries of gentle candle smoke. Several candles flicker softly near a small stone altar. Their warm light dances gently against the walls without disturbing the stillness. You take a seat upon one of the old benches. The cool stone beneath your feet and the quiet glow of the candles create a feeling of perfect calm. For a few peaceful moments, there is nothing to hear except the distant singing of birds outside and the gentle creaking of ancient wood settling comfortably into another day. The silence here is not empty. It feels full of kindness, full of patience, full of the countless peaceful mornings that have quietly unfolded within these walls across hundreds of years. After a while, you step back into the fresh morning air. Nearby, behind the chapel, a small herb garden rests within a low stone wall. Lavender, sage, rosemary, chamomile, mint, and thyme grow in carefully tended rows, filling the air with their soothing fragrance whenever the breeze stirs their leaves. For centuries, gardens like these provided both flavor and comfort. Herbs were carefully gathered for teas, simple meals, and traditional remedies, passed from one generation to the next through quiet experience rather than written books. A narrow path winds gently beyond the garden. Following it, you discover a tiny cemetery shaded by ancient yew trees. Weathered stone markers stand peacefully among soft grass and wildflowers, each one gently embraced by time. There is nothing sorrowful here, only a quiet reminder that many peaceful lives were lived within this hidden village, their memories becoming part of the forest that continues to shelter this place. A robin lands upon one of the old stone walls. It sings a single clear note before fluttering toward the trees. Beyond the chapel grounds, the forest opens once again. A sparkling brook flows across smooth pebbles, crossed by a graceful wooden footbridge whose railings are decorated with climbing honeysuckle. Dragonflies shimmer above the water, while ferns and foxgloves line the shaded banks beneath towering beech trees. You pause at the center of the bridge. Looking into the clear water below, you see tiny trout moving slowly through patches of sunlight. Fallen leaves drift gently along the current before disappearing beneath overhanging branches, continuing their quiet journey downstream. The peaceful sound of flowing water fills every corner of the morning. Across the bridge, another winding lane begins to climb gently toward the forested hillside. Between the trees, you notice the faint outline of a traditional watermill, its broad wooden wheel turning slowly beside the stream. Thin ribbons of white smoke rise from its chimney. Nearby, fields of golden grain ripple softly beneath the warm breeze, promising another gentle discovery beyond the next bend in the path. With calm curiosity, you continue toward the old mill, where the quiet rhythm of flowing water and turning wood has patiently marked the passing seasons for centuries, inviting you deeper into the timeless heart of the forgotten village. The old watermill by the gentle stream. The woodland path carries you quietly beyond the little stone bridge, where the soft murmur of flowing water becomes a little clearer with every unhurried step. Morning has now settled comfortably over the forgotten village, wrapping every meadow, orchard, and hillside in a warm golden light that feels gentle rather than bright. Ahead, the old watermill rests peacefully beside the stream. Its weathered stone walls have stood here for centuries, their surfaces softened by climbing ivy and patches of emerald moss. The great wooden wheel turns slowly as the clear water passes beneath it, its steady rhythm sounding almost like a calm heartbeat. There is no rush in its movement. It simply turns as it always has, season after season, year after year. You pause for a moment to watch the wheel. Sunlight catches tiny droplets of water as they fall from the wooden paddles, sending sparkling diamonds into the air before they disappear back into the stream below. The sound is wonderfully soothing. Watermills like this were once among the most important buildings in many small European villages. Families brought baskets of wheat, barley, rye, and oats harvested from nearby fields. The flowing stream provided all the power needed to turn heavy millstones, patiently grinding grain into fine flour that would become warm loaves of bread shared around family tables. You follow a narrow path toward the open doorway. Inside, cool shadows offer a welcome contrast to the sunny morning outside. Massive oak beams stretch overhead, their rich wood darkened by generations of careful use. Large millstones turn slowly together, their quiet movement creating a gentle hum that blends perfectly with the sound of the flowing water beneath the floor. The miller greets the morning with calm familiarity. He moves carefully, brushing fine flour from a wooden table before filling neatly woven sacks that will soon return to the village bakery. Every movement is patient, practiced, and unhurried. There is something deeply comforting about work performed with such quiet confidence. You notice the pleasant aroma of fresh grain filling the room. It mingles with the scent of old timber, cool stone, and the clean fragrance of the nearby stream. Dust-like particles of flour drift lazily through shafts of sunlight that enter from small wooden windows, floating gently before settling once again. Outside the mill, a narrow footpath follows the stream through peaceful meadows. Wildflowers bloom freely along its banks. Purple foxgloves, white daisies, yellow buttercups, and blue cornflowers sway together beneath a light breeze. Dragonflies hover above the clear water while butterflies drift effortlessly between the blossoms. The stream itself is wonderfully clear. Smooth pebbles shimmer beneath the gentle current, and tiny fish glide quietly between patches of waving water plants. Ferns lean gracefully over the banks, their delicate leaves almost touching the water below. You continue walking beside the stream. Every few moments, small wooden footbridges cross from one bank to the other, built with simple craftsmanship that has endured through countless seasons. Moss covers the railings, while climbing vines wrap themselves gently around the weathered wood. The forest begins to open once more. Rolling fields stretch across the hillside ahead, their golden grain moving like gentle waves beneath the late morning breeze. Here and there, farmers work quietly among the crops, guiding horses that pull simple wooden plows or gathering bundles of wheat by hand. Long before machines transformed farming, nearly every harvest depended upon patience, cooperation, and careful timing. Families often worked together from sunrise until evening, yet the rhythm of their days remained closely connected to the seasons rather than hurried schedules. You watch from a comfortable distance. There is no urgency in their movements, only steady work beneath an endless sky. Nearby, an elderly shepherd sits beneath a broad oak tree while a small flock of sheep grazes peacefully across the meadow. His faithful sheepdog rests quietly at his feet, occasionally lifting its head before settling comfortably back into the cool grass. The gentle ringing of tiny bells tied around a few of the sheep drifts softly through the warm air. The sound is slow, peaceful, almost musical. You find a smooth stone beside the stream and sit for a little while. Sunlight dances across the moving water. Clouds drift lazily overhead. A kingfisher flashes brilliant blue as it skims low across the stream before disappearing among overhanging branches. Somewhere in the distance, the faint call of a cuckoo echoes through the forest, soon blending once again into the quiet harmony of nature. The forgotten village seems to breathe at its own gentle pace. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing feels forgotten here. Instead, every cottage, every tree, every stone path, and every flowing stream quietly reminds you that a peaceful life is often built from simple moments repeated with care. As the sun slowly climbs higher, you notice another winding lane branching away from the stream. It disappears into a sunlit grove of ancient beech trees where colorful ribbons flutter gently from wooden branches in the breeze. Beyond the grove, the rooftops of several timber workshops become visible between the trees. Wisps of fragrant cedar smoke curl lazily into the bright afternoon sky, and somewhere nearby comes the soft, rhythmic tapping of wooden tools shaping something beautiful by hand. With quiet curiosity, you leave the gentle stream behind and follow the shaded lane toward the old craftsman's quarter, where the patient hands of village artisans continue traditions that have been lovingly passed from one generation to the next. The craftsman's lane and the evening lanterns. The shaded lane leads you gently beneath a canopy of ancient beech trees, where sunlight filters through thousands of green leaves in soft, dancing patterns. The air feels pleasantly cool here, carrying the comforting fragrance of cedar, fresh pine, and wild mint growing along the edge of the path. As you continue, the quiet sound of flowing water gradually fades behind you, replaced by another peaceful rhythm. It is the gentle tapping of wooden tools. Not loud, not hurried. Simply the calm, familiar sound of careful hands shaping natural materials with patience and skill. Soon, the trees open onto a small square lined with timber workshops. Each building is simple yet beautifully cared for, with flower boxes resting beneath tiny windows and climbing roses winding around sturdy oak beams. The afternoon sun bathes the lane in a warm golden glow, making every polished wooden door and weathered stone wall appear even more welcoming. For centuries, villages like this depended on skilled craftsmen. Carpenters built sturdy homes and furniture, blacksmiths repaired tools, weavers created warm cloth, potters shaped everyday bowls and cups, and basket makers gathered willow branches from nearby streams to weave strong baskets for harvests and markets. You step quietly into the first workshop. A carpenter stands beside a long oak bench, smoothing the surface of a beautifully carved chair with slow, practiced movements. Fine curls of fragrant wood fall gently onto the floor like delicate ribbons. Sunlight streams through the open window, illuminating tiny specks of sawdust that drift peacefully through the air. The room smells wonderfully comforting. Fresh cedar, oak, beeswax polish, and the faint aroma of herbs drying from wooden beams overhead. Nothing inside the workshop feels rushed. Every tool has its place. Every movement has purpose. It reminds you that true craftsmanship has always been as much about patience as skill. Outside again, you continue farther along the lane. Across the square, a weaver works at a large wooden loom positioned beside an open doorway. Long strands of wool in soft shades of cream, forest green, deep blue, and warm brown stretch carefully across the frame. The steady rhythm of the loom becomes almost musical. Forward, back, a gentle tap, then silence. Again. Thread by thread, a beautiful blanket slowly begins to appear, much like the quiet unfolding of the seasons themselves. You pause to watch for a while. In medieval villages, many families spun wool from their own sheep before weaving blankets and clothing that would keep them warm throughout the long winter months. Every piece was made with care, often taking weeks to complete. Nearby, the village potter carefully shapes a bowl upon a spinning wheel. Cool clay glides smoothly beneath gentle fingers, slowly rising into graceful curves. Rows of finished pottery rest upon wooden shelves. Outside, drying peacefully in the afternoon sunshine. Simple bowls, small pitchers, teacups, bread plates. Each one slightly different. Each one quietly beautiful. Beyond the workshops lies a peaceful village garden where herbs, vegetables, and colorful flowers grow together in carefully tended beds. Bees hum lazily among blooming lavender while butterflies drift above bright marigolds and fragrant chamomile. An elderly gardener waters the plants using a wooden bucket drawn from a nearby well. The water sparkles briefly in the sunlight before disappearing into the rich soil below. You walk slowly between the flower beds. The scents are wonderfully calming. Lavender, rosemary, mint, thyme, fresh earth warmed by the afternoon sun. It feels as though every gentle breeze carries another small gift from the garden. As the afternoon quietly passes, the sunlight begins to soften. Golden rays stretch across the rooftops, painting long shadows along the cobblestone streets. Children quietly gather wildflowers for their homes, while neighbors exchange warm smiles as they finish the day's gentle work. No one appears hurried. The village seems to understand that evenings are meant to arrive slowly. One by one, Small lanterns are hung beside cottage doors. Their amber glow begins to replace the fading daylight, creating a welcoming warmth throughout the winding streets. Thin ribbons of smoke rise from stone chimneys as simple suppers are prepared inside cozy homes. The comforting aroma of freshly baked bread, vegetable soup, roasted herbs, and warm apple pastries drifts gently through the cool evening air. You wander toward the center of the village once more. The old stone well now reflects the first stars appearing above the forest. Nearby, villagers gather quietly beneath the great chestnut tree, sharing peaceful conversations as the day gently comes to an end. Someone pours warm herbal tea into small earthen cups. Another quietly tunes a simple wooden flute. Its soft melody floats gently through the evening, blending perfectly with the whispering leaves and the distant murmur of the stream. The forest beyond the cottages begins to glow beneath the rising moon. Fireflies appear once again among the hedgerows, their tiny lights dancing like drifting stars. The same peaceful woodland that welcomed you yesterday now seems even more familiar, as though it has quietly accepted you as one of its evening visitors. You take one last slow walk along the lantern-lit lane. Every glowing window, every flower-filled garden, every weathered stone, every ancient tree. Together they create a feeling that is difficult to describe, yet wonderfully easy to feel, a quiet reminder that the simplest places often hold the deepest sense of peace. At the edge of the village, another narrow path disappears into the moonlit forest. It winds gently toward a calm lake hidden among the ancient pines, where the still water reflects the stars like a polished mirror. The lanterns behind you continue to glow softly, while the quiet path ahead invites you toward another peaceful discovery waiting beyond the trees, where the gentle rhythm of the forgotten village continues beneath the timeless night sky.